Hello and welcome to Epic Home Tech. Today we're going to go through installing Home Assistant as a Docker container using Portainer. And we're going to go ahead and follow the Home Assistant documentation and see how well that goes. I'm Jeremy and my co-host Jared.
Hello, hello.
All right, let's get started. So we went to Home Assistant's website and we pulled up their install Home Assistant container for a generic x86-64 platform. We're installing this on a Linux Docker host running on an x86 processor. So let's go ahead and go to our containers. We got containers. We're going to go ahead and add a container. So here is the Docker command line. And we're going to go ahead and jam in the appropriate values here. So we're going to call this Home Assistant. Registry, Docker Hub. Shoot, do we already run into an issue? I gotta add a registry. Registries, add registry. We need to add the GitHub registry. So GHCR is GitHub's container registry. We're going to call this GitHub Container Registry. Let's see if this works. Now we got to go back to our containers. Add container. GitHub Container Registry. To see if this will work. Let's give it a shot. So we're going to go ahead, we switch to the appropriate registry and we put in the name of the container, at least what I believe to be the name of the container, and it did not work. So it doesn't like this here. Let's see if that works. Nope. No such image. VHCR IO assistant. Can't like that. Oh. Yep. Let's go. Container. I want to have to add the Home Assistant. Is that gonna work? No. Well, that's a thing. Oh, it's the container name, derp. Suppose I should read the message a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, there we go.
Well,
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Now I gotta find out if the repository was correct. I'll remove that. Oh yeah, worked perfectly fine. Look at that. That's amazing what you can learn when you read your error messages. Alright, so we got that. So here's the container. Bunch of information it pulled already. We've got this bridging onto our network. So we're going to be bridging onto our network address for the server. Nope, this is bridging onto a different network. Host is what we want this thing on. Cannot be disconnected from the host network or connected to the host network. Why is that? Let's stop it. It can't be added to the host network. I want to see if maybe changing its permissions will allow it to get on the host network. It's on the host network now. Doesn't have any ports exposed. Alright, so we're going to go through and we're just going to get some ports set up. It doesn't show any ports. So in our command, we've got the name of the host, the Docker container. It's given privileged access, which is what I was looking for. Restart unless stopped. So if something happens, the container will be restarted automatically. They're setting the time zone. This is a configuration for the container. This is the network host, which is what I just set. Restart policy. Unless stopped. Here's that environment variable. So E is for environment variable. TZ is for time zone. So we're going to create an environment variable. And these are in a key value type store. So the key is TZ. And we're going to go ahead and set the time zone to America, Los Angeles. V is for volume. So here we have V, volume. So within the container, it is going to be /config. There we go, this is what I wanted. We're going to SSH in here to 20. And we're going to change directory. So this is where I've started setting up all of my Docker volumes. Or did I set it up somewhere else? No, I think that was it. And we're gonna make dir home assistant config. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it in here. So we switched from a volume to a bind mount. So we have a physical directory that we can work with, and we'll be able to access it later for other things. Alright, so let's just make sure we got everything here. What we don't have is privileged, which I don't think is going to be significant. I think we would need privileged if we were going to be passing through USB devices. So we're going to leave that one alone. If you can run a container without the privilege flag, that would be your best case scenario. You don't want to give the container any higher permissions than it should have. We've got our host network, host, our volume, so host volume, environment variable, time zone, America, Los Angeles, restart, policy, unless stopped, and we gave it a name. So let's go and deploy, and we're going to replace the existing container. Alright, so now we should be able to go to here and port 8123. There we go.
Nice.
Next, you can enter a name for your home and set your location. My name for this server is, we'll just call it user. We don't want that to be seen. We don't want to share our passwords. And we're going to create our account. And we'll just do America, Los Angeles again. I'm curious as to why it's asking for it. Why did... Los Angeles. And we'll leave that. And you can share anonymized information if you choose. For the sake of this, we're going to skip it. And we do want the sun. So here's a service that will track the sun's location in the sky, so you can have different automations triggered by the position of the sun. So at sunrise or sunset, or period of times before or after sunrise or sunset. And there we go, we've got it set up. If we wanted to add other...
Jeremy, with the sun, does that change? I mean, is that just based off of, when I say one instance, or because between summer and winter it will continually change? Do you know how often that actually changes, or does it change? Is it just, well, if you live, you know, in the east, it is this generalized, you know, time? Have you ever checked it?
I haven't checked it, but it should be pretty accurate. My understanding is that it would be based on, you know, mathematical computations of the position of the Earth and its rotation in relation to the position of the sun. So it should not be dependent on season or daylight saving, if your locale has such a thing. So it should be pretty straightforward. It should be pretty close. Now,
okay,
what I have noticed is, while, you know, you might want it at, you know, sunset, because of cloud cover, you'd probably want it, you know, to have been turned on earlier. But I haven't figured out a good way to handle cloud cover for those later afternoon or evening hours. So it ends up turning on later when it was already plenty dark because of cloud cover. But
sure.
I know that there are ways to do that. I just haven't poked at it. So let's see if there's anything else in the installation instructions that's relevant for us right now. So you could go through and you can add your devices and services. So that's where you go to your settings, as it shows here, devices and services. And here are some of your integrations. So we could add an integration. Maybe we're going to do this Belkin Wemo here, right? So we're going to type Belkin Wemo. And then, do you want to set up Belkin Wemo? And no, I don't, because I don't have any Wemo devices on this network. So what we will be adding is MQTT. But we don't have an MQTT server a broker set up yet. So that will be coming up. So let's see about that. Let's see, Docker install Mosquito. So MQTT is a pub sub broker. It is a publish and subscribe service. So a publisher puts a message into the message queue, and a subscriber pulls the messages off the queue. So you can have a simple device like a light bulb, or ESP home devices, or what we're going to be working on in a later video is a firewall appliance. We're going to have the firewall put messages onto the MQTT queue and pull messages off. It's going to be both a publisher and a subscriber, and we're going to see if we can't automate our firewall device through Home Assistant. So, Eclipse Mosquito. So this is a Docker official image. I always try to pull those. Let's see when it was last, how active this one is. See if I can find any good information on it. Here we've got some ports that are going to be exposed. Am I not seeing? Let's go to tags here. Here's the latest tag. It was pushed 2 months ago. Oh look, Docker Hub is checking for log4j CVEs. So this one was pushed 2 months ago.
And what is that?
Log4j was a significant compromise. Log4 shell is what they named the vulnerability, but it's a compromise. It's a exploit for a logging library in JavaScript. So log4j. So this is Apache's log4j. There's Wikipedia. Apache log4j is a Java-based logging utility. It's used by a lot of different tools. It's been around for a long time, but there's a big compromise, a big vulnerability in it.
Oh, okay. I see that there. Yeah.
So we're going to pull the latest image here. So we're going to go back to our Portainer. We're going to add a container. This container is going to be Mosquito. And it's from Docker Hub. And it's going to be Eclipse Mosquito latest. So we're going to create these 3 volumes. So we need to go back here. And we're going to make a directory and we're going to call this Mosquito. And we're going to make a directory config. That won't work. Burp. Alright, so we made our directories. There we go. Print working directory. Now I could have created a directory just for Mosquito and then had subdirectories under there, but I don't know if in the image they have other things under directory, and I don't want to bind mount over it and hide those things. So we're going to go Mosquito config, and it is a bind mount config. Mosquito log. It too is a bind mount log, and one more. Data. It too is a bind data. Network. We're going to do this host again. They don't have any environment variables. So I think we might be okay with that. So let's go ahead and deploy it. Didn't start. Wow. So apparently we don't need to. I don't know if I want a custom one though. Yeah, we'll go without. No, I don't like that. I changed my mind. So we're going to go to GitHub and we're going to look for Mosquito. Here's the Eclipse Mosquito. And what we're going to look for is the config file. Here's mosquito.conf. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the raw link here. So we're going to copy link address. And we're going to go into our config directory and we're going to do a wget. So now we've got a mosquito.conf. Go back to our containers and let's start it. Alright, so Mosquito is now running. Why did I want to do that? The reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to have a configuration file there. If there's anything that I wanted to change, I know that the config is there and I can change it. I can also persist that. So if I wanted to copy it out, save it, rebuild the container, kill it, whatever I wanted to do, I can do all of that now. All right, so our container is created. It is running. And next up is we need to add a user. So we're going to go ahead and hit the Google machine again. Mosquito. We'll go Eclipse Docker user add. Let's see what this guy has. What do we have here? You can set up the Mosquito PassWD using the Docker container and or an installation of Mosquito so that you can use the Mosquito PassWD tool. So what we can do is we're going to go and we can execute a console. So we can open up a shell in this container. So here's the command that we're going to be executing, and we're going to get an interactive shell and we're going to run it as root. Alright. So it didn't have bash. So our Mosquito PassWD, TXC, Mosquito config, mosquito.passwd, and username we're going to say mqtt user, and we're going to give it some password. Helps if I type it correctly. There we go. All right, so we created a user. And we want to make sure that we're going to use it. All right, so we've got that set up. So we're going to go here and we're going to do mqtt broker is localhost 1883. Username was MQTT user and some password. There we go.
Nice.
So it looks like we're good. So right now, there is no SSL on MQTT. So this will be something that we will be setting up in a future video, because we're going to be dealing with a firewall that's going to be sending messages back and forth, and some of those messages will be altering the behavior of the firewall. So I want to make sure that that is secured, authenticated, and encrypted. So right now, let's see what we can do. So we're going to go test, payload test, and we're going to listen to test. There we go. So through this interface, we created a subscriber. So we're listening to a topic, and the topic is test, and that you can go into a long debate over name conventions and how you want to do naming of all of these topics. So we said, listen to this, and here we're going to publish a MQTT message. So this is a message, and we publish, and there we go. We see this is a message. So when we start bringing on more devices, we'll have them start talking to the MQTT broker, and there is a whole bunch of information about Home Assistant auto discovery with MQTT, and we'll be using this with our Firewalla container.
Wow, a lot of stuff, huh? Look at that.
Yes.
So there's not expected like humidifiers and
yeah,
and that's a lot.
So all MQTT stuff. So lots of good stuff here that we can set up. What we're probably going to focus on is going to be binary sensors and probably some switches. So we're going to be switching on and off different firewall rules, and we're going to have binary sensors to tell us what the state of those rules are. So when we tell the switch to turn on a firewall rule, we want the binary sensor to reflect when it is on and when it is off. So we'll be working on that next. So what we set up was Home Assistant and a Mosquito MQTT broker. We proved that the MQTT broker is working. We can send messages to and from, so Home Assistant is receiving the information. So once we get the Docker container publishing messages through the auto discovery mechanisms within Home Assistant, we're going to start seeing binary sensors show up here for the Firewalla device. So that will be very exciting, and I look forward to getting all of that set up in a future video. But for this one, that's it. Thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Let us know in the comments below. Thank you.
Thank you.